morning and I make you welcome. This is Enterprise Weekend, reaching you from Enterprise Television from our corporate headquarters in Lagos State, Nigeria. I am Henry Igwebike, and today we would be starting with our newspapers just to see through everything we have going on right there. And from that would be our conversation also for today. Do well to be part of what we do, have a say in what we say. You can reach us when you visit us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally comment and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. Very so honored to have joining us via Zoom is His Greatness Agadaigo, barrister, public affairs analyst, development communicator, and he joins us from Delta State, Nigeria. Good morning to you, barrister, and welcome to Enterprise Weekend today.
Good morning, sir. Happy weekend, and always a pleasure for you to have me.
It's always a pleasure also for us, having you, especially with regards to your wealth of experience and your in-depth analysis on some of the big issues in Nigeria. So I'd love us to start with the Saturday Vanguard newspaper. We equally have the Guardian newspaper, the Weekend Trust, which is the weekend version of the Daily Trust newspaper, and also the Punch. But let's start with the Vanguard newspaper for today. Litany of interesting stories. We need help. Governor declares as security worsens. Terrorists kill 30 in Zamfara. Fresh attack. And we equally learned that about 35 equally have been killed in Sokoto, where bandits with over 150 motorcycles invaded the community, abducted scores, and burnt down lots of things. And one would ask, where is the president? Where is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Where is Kashim Shettima, who said he will be in charge of security while the president takes care of economy? Now, both are not even in charge of anything, lots of Nigerians would conclude. But let's take a look at other matters. Nigeria spends a 10.8 trillion naira on debt servicing in 9 months. 10.8 trillion naira debt servicing. Wow. We have other matters. FCT Kano Rivers polls. Wike moves to deliver Abuja Rivers as Kwankwaso Yusuf dig in for Kano State. We equally have other matters. Black Valentine. About 15 Abia wedding guests perish in auto crash. Well, that's a very sad one. Should we blame the roads now that Alex Oti is making good, or should we blame drivers who have been reckless for some time now? But let's take a look at the talking point. Political divorce that could reshape 2027. And barrister, that is between the very good ally, what's the name now? El-Rufai and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Once good friends, they danced Buga at Chatham House after President Tinubu delivered his speech there before the elections. El-Rufai was the one that brought in the Muslim ticket and encouraged the president that was the winning strategy. Today, the two friends are now key enemies. What do you think this would look like as we move towards 2027, barrister?
And what it means is just a signpost that there are going to still be a lot of political divorce in the offing, waiting to happen. And that's why many a times people should not take political friendship too seriously, such as they should not even take political enmity too seriously, because many a times it's their supporters and followers that end up with fatal casualties, while the main actors, at the end of the day, they will shake hands when they see themselves in ceremonies, or at times even hug themselves to make up, or to, if they were friends before, or to draw the departure map on each other. So, in Nigeria, there's a thin line, very thin line, which many a times is extremely vague, between political friendship, political brotherhood, and political enmity. Very thin. defined by interest. What do you have by me? Once the interest of any of the personalities involved is not taken care of, then it's the lack or the taking care of the political interest of any of the personalities could lead to political friendship, political brotherhood, and or political enmity. So it's just, like I said, a signal to that. So as we journey into the 2027 electioneering, many of these developments in many other personalities are bound to play up. Especially, you know, few days ago, the Senate, they were singing APC senators, House of Rep members, and they voted along those lines. As we now, the president has put in the signed into law an electoral provision that for political parties candidatureship, the only two means of ascending candidatureship and being a candidate of a political party is either by direct primaries or consensus. Now, as we enter into the primaries phase of this electoral journey, when some of these House of Rep and House of and Senate members, if they lose re-election bids, if, quote me please, verbatim, if they lose re-election bids, we will also see this a departure from this political friendship and brotherhood into political enmity. It's always a question of interest. No permanent friends, no permanent enemy, but permanent interest. That is what will always be at stake, and that is always how this game is going to play.
Yes, I understand that too well, Barrister. There's always room for shaking of hands, you know. But on this particular part that El-Rufai is towing right now, he allegedly said that if he goes into fighting anyone politically, it's either he goes down or the person he is fighting goes down. And historically in Nigeria, we've seen situations where people have lost their lives as a result of that. MKO Abiola, who Nigerians would say won the 1993 elections at the time, was a very good friend of both Babangida and Sani Abacha. But the two gentlemen, military officers, had allowed him to go down, and that led to his life, you know. But in this particular case, do we see similar occurrence happening? Because El-Rufai is not someone that would love to go down just alone without the person he is fighting with equally going down with him.
Well, at least for now, one thing that has made the political space in Nigeria a bit calm and less restless, I may say, is we have not seen high-profile political killings and assassination. At least, thank God, to that extent, the political actors and the government in power have been able to restrain themselves not to go to that extreme length of engaging in any form of political extermination of political opponents. What we have seen is political persecution, bringing up Trump-up charges, arresting opposition figures like Malami and now El-Rufai, harassing them, denying them of security, and denying them of space to operate, as it were. But we have not seen that. And I hope that the players on both sides of the divide will restrain themselves and restrain most especially their supporters and alleged supporters not to go to that very dangerous dimension. I hope that will be the case. If that will be the case, it's just political tactics throwing jabs at each other on media and the rest. Then it is within the political civic culture to so engage. I hope they will engage with maturity. They will criticize each other constructively and with reason, and then so that this electoral journey into 2027 will be interesting and eventful, and one that will be reckoned in the annals of our history. And that is far different from what played out during the time of Abiola, MK Abiola. The optics are different. This one now is happening in a civil space. That was happening in a military regime, that appeared unwilling to yield power to civilian administration. You know, that was the genesis of Abiola's problem. According to Abiola, if we go back, let memory, he said before he entered the presidential race, he met Babangida and asked him, are you prepared to hand over to civilian administration? And Babangida assured him that yes, that is even tired. I wants to hand over. He assured him, and that's what gave him confidence to throw. Before then there were other transition programs. Abiola did not involve himself. He stayed very clear, far clear away from them. But in this instance, he said he met Abiola and Babangida, and he assured him that he will hand over power. He will leave. He is not ready to continue military dictatorship in Nigeria. And it was on the basis of that assurance, well-grounded assurance, that he threw his heart into the ring. And that's why when the military regime were trying to annul the transition program, that's why Abiola resisted it with all he had, because that amounted to complete, total betrayal of trust built over years. So that one is quite different. This case in time now, we see we are in a civilian administration. We see clearly the incumbent who wants to remain in power by all means, and we see a populace who are completely dissatisfied with the services that have been rendered with the present government in the past over three years, almost 3 years now. May 29th on the way. 3 years, they are completely not only dissatisfied, but completely disenchanted with the policies, program, promises, and service attitude of the present regime. And we see an opposition who is catching in on the sentiments of the majority of the populace to ensure that they do everything they out through the ballot box to throw out the present administration. That is the present scenario in summary.
Okay, so let's
different from what we had in the year 1993.
All right, beautiful. So let's get into other stories we have from the Saturday Punch newspaper also. Big story: night of terror in Zamfara. Gunmen on 150 motorcycles block roads, kills cause, abduct many. Victims buried in mass graves. Analysts renew calls for state police. We equally have other matters from Couriers to Cartels inside Nigeria's booming cross-border drug empires. We have real reason I hid inside aircraft wheel well in 2013. Remember the store-away guy, the young boy who went into a local aircraft that was flying from Edo to Lagos. He thought that particular flight was going from Edo to UK or Italy, but he found himself in Lagos. So the young boy at that time, he should be around 15 at the time. Now he's a big man now. So he was recalling a story that he went through. But let's take a look at a human angle story. Barrister, Mirabel, how false rape story turned into money-making venture. You are a lawyer, barrister, and I'd love to ask you, from your wealth of experience, situations where Nigerian youths on TikTok, on social media, because they want the likes, they want the clickbaits, they want the followership, which in turn makes money for them. They peddle lies. On this particular case, Mirabel, a TikToker, lied that she was raped, only to gather clickbaits and views, and it was discovered that all she was saying were all false. How and what does the law say about people who engage in such kind of activities?
Giving false information, dishing out false information, especially to security agencies and the police, is a criminal act. It's a criminal act. And also, giving out false information to the extent that it's likely to breach the peace, because there's an offense known as actions we can take that will likely breach the peace, could also be regarded as a criminal act, because and of course you know that usually why hate speech is globally sanctioned, because hate speech leads to confusion first, then it leads to war, and at times it leads to genocide. Because it will mislead parties to engaging in warfare, and it will also lead to maybe a particular party to try as much as possible to try and exterminate a particular race in hatred. And that is why I think even though the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari tried to really do a lot to raid hate speech, it's just that they misdirected it. Instead of them to dealing with hate speech, they now converted it. Lai Mohammed now converted it into criticisms of Nigerians and opposition figures against the Muhammadu Buhari regime. That's where he diverted. Or dealing with hate speech, dealing with misinformation is a welcome development, because misinformation leads to confusion, general confusion. It leads to destruction of values, destruction of infrastructure, and even destruction of the entire society as it were. So what Mirabel has done is condemnable, and I condemn it. And I'm not too fully seized of the entire story. But if she names a particular person who she actually accused, a real life person, not hypothetical personality, that she accused of being the predator, being the person who raped her, then of course that person has a duty to bring a suit against her for damages, for being defamed, Well, me too, I'm not a fan of this cyber bullying and the rest so much. So I may not really subscribe to that, because I see that law as oppressive. But that person, to the extent that he has been publicly defamed of committing rape, which he did not, I would advise him to file a civil suit.
All right. So, Barrister, just before we end for this particular segment, let's equally take a look at another very important national story. Nigeria spends 10.8 trillion naira on debt servicing in 9 months. The administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is saying that this 10.9 trillion for debt servicing only is not just the money they had accrued. It's a combination from Goodluck Ebele Jonathan to Muhammad Buhari, and now to them. So what we are using to service every debt accumulated since Olusegun Obasanjo had asked the European nation and other nations to forgive us. We went borrowing, and today we service the debt with 10.8 trillion naira. What's your take on this, Barrister? Is it ever possible to have another leader like Olusegun Obasanjo that might pacify the world to forgive us yet again of every debt that we have?
It's possible, but at 2027 is an opportunity for us to make that choice. That choice is staring at us, whether we'll be docile or we'll actively engage with the electoral process to make that choice. Olusegun Obasanjo is not the only personality who can be a good leader in Nigeria. We have other people in the offing who may even be better than Olusegun, Olawole, Obasanjo, and we know them. It's just that I don't want to advocate or campaign for any personality now, because even now, say, INEC, going by their timetable, have not declared open the window for campaign for election 2027. Yeah. So I don't want to beat the gun, but we have them, and we can make it happen. Where there's the will, there's the way. Yeah. Where there's the will, there's the way. And we have the will. All we need to do is to activate that will, put it into action. Power belongs to the people. Government belongs to the people. And it is the people who determines who must lead them. So what we need to do is we know what to do, and we know how to do it. But doing it is the issue. Are we prepared? I hope we are. If we are, we will get the result.
All right.
Olusegun Obasanjo made this nation debtless. Yes, we still have some domestic debts, no doubt. But in terms of foreign indebtedness, yeah, we completely eradicated all our foreign debts. Yes, even Jonathan left some very feeble amount of debt. Feeble, I will call it. The debt overhang we are suffering now is based on the APC government that was completely ignorant of how modern government runs and how to run Nigeria government. They came, and that's why I'm saying all I've said before. They came and led Nigeria by the nose that they want to do better. Nobody asked them how, and when we asked them how, they could not tell us. Or they were promising $1, $1. They will make power stable. They will provide maybe whatever megawatts of electricity. Everything, once we ask them, they will do it. They will provide jobs for the jobless. They were just giving promises, assurances, without even knowing, having a fickle of idea of what was actually on ground.
But Barrister, is this a matter of the APC or individualism at this point? Because Nigerian politics is run in such a way that every politician is a member of the opposition party. It's just that the opposition party didn't give them room, so they diverted to the ruling party. And if APC loses out now, every single person in the APC will go to the ruling party at the time. So is this a matter of not having individuals who understand the rules of engagement and not just casting the blame on party that does not even exist in Nigeria, because every politician is a member of all the parties in the country?
Apart from those who will definitely defect into the party, every political party has its key figures that the party symbolizes. APC, the key figures that symbolize APC, even up till tomorrow, is late former President Muhammadu Buhari and Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Before you now bring Akande, those are the two people that are the face of APC till tomorrow.
But they were not members of the APC before now. They were, Muhammad Buhari was with the CPC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu was with the AD. So this APC was just a coalition of them coming to defeat the PDP, which means that the APC is even superficial. It is not tangible at this point. It's rather about individual politics as being played by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for example, today. What's your take on that?
My take on that is that, yes, they were, for an example now, if you want to do change of name now, from today now, yes, formally, and you have always been known as Henry Igwe Wike, but from this moment forward that you have done the change of name, you now advise and tell all authorities to refer to you as so and so, and that becomes your new name, irrespective of what you have done. So at the point that they metamorphosed into APC, they now forgetting what they had been, ACN, AD, ACN, and CPC. We are now known as APC, and they campaigned for change to make Nigeria better under APC. And these were the two personalities. One was the presidential candidate. The other one was the leader of the party. These were the face of the party. These were the face of APC, campaigning, promising Nigerians change. And after one finished, the other one took over. And going back to the point where we started from, it appeared that their real policy was amassing debt for Nigeria. Because, of course, Buhari borrowed, amassed fundamental, enormous debt overhang, loaded. One of his legacies is loading Nigeria with extraordinary debt overhang. And even Tinubu, who has even freed Nigeria, as it were, from fuel subsidy, he has not stopped borrowing. The borrowings, in fact, a report said he has now borrowed as much as Buhari borrowed in his 80, if not even more. So it appears that one of the unwritten provisions in the APC manifesto is loading Nigeria with enormous debt, because this policy is both consistent with the Muhammadu APC administration and the Tinubu APC federal government. It's consistent. So they cannot escape from it. So it is them. Why PDP, whether you say all the personalities or majority of personalities in PDP have decamped to APC, is inconsequential. But PDP is known as what they did, because it is your what you do speaks louder than even what you say. What PDP did by what they did, it shows that PDP believes in Nigeria being free from international debt, because that's what they did. That's their scorched card. So we cannot in any way exonerate Tinubu from the present debt overhang that Nigeria is undergoing. The 10.8 or 9 trillion being used for debt servicing is an APC legacy, and if we must tie it to them, they must own it. They cannot, when they came every time PDP, there's no way they can shift it, burden shifting, blame shifting to PDP. No, it is owned, it is purchased by APC, it is bought by APC, it is owned by APC, and they must, as a matter of necessity, take the full blame for it.
All right. Thank you so very much, Barrister. Just to let you know that Barrister would be back to take us on our main conversation when we return. Nyesom Wike tests his grip on Federal Capital Territory as Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso and Abba Kabir Yusuf clash in a crucial 2027 political dress rehearsal. In a beat, Enterprise Weekend it is. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.